Flow. It's the main reason why I've been able to achieve everything that I've ever put my mind to. But it goes much, much deeper than that, really. The best way I can describe it, now that I kind of have a decent understanding of what flow really, really is that as children, our perceptions were really narrow, right? Like, it's almost like you're completely engulfed in a never-ending flow state where nothing else on earth matters but like the Lego set that is in front of you that you're building in the living room with your animal crackers. That is, in essence, what flow is. It's presence, being in the here and now and nowhere else. Not the future, not the past. Nothing matters. When your mind shuts everything in the world out and you're singularly focused on one thing. I believe this understanding goes way beyond making you a millionaire, which is the title of the video, to get you to click on it. And it is true. But I hope by sharing what I'm about to share with you, you not only become a millionaire, but you take what I'm trying to explain and it gives you some stepping stones, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. Stepping stones is even a word, but a starting point to experience flow for yourself, because this is a personal journey. It is honestly like an awakening to who you are. You're understanding more about you, what brings you peace, all that good stuff. So, but I'll get into it. So, like when I got a little bit older than when I was a little kid playing with Legos, I went to school and I started socializing with my friends, and I had sports and activities, and I had Minecraft play when I got home. So my life was in complete flow. As a child, you're in this ignorant bliss, and it never really stops unless things in your life that are out of your control happen. Therefore, like when I got a little older than that, I experienced my parents divorcing, and that stability was broken. So I lost my sense of peace, and I felt lost too. And I was just in this crappy middle school in a crappy town in Wellington, Colorado, which at the time only had a McDonald's and a Taco John's, and that was it. So I begged to leave, and we did. And what happened is I instantly fell back into a sense of flow in my life. And by that time, I was like finally in middle school where all my friends were, and this problem actually came up where the indoctrination that was the school system felt like it was turning me into a zombie, which wasn't flow. It was more of like a slavery and like a forced obedience. Like I had to do it. And these kids that were around me that were tapping their foot because they wanted to go outside to play, they were diagnosed with ADHD. Meanwhile, it's, I'm like, wait a minute, that kid's like fine. There's this pent up energy, unable to express itself and actualize into anything real. And I truly believe we could all sense that we weren't really learning anything in school, and none of it really mattered. But only a very few were ballsy enough to break the chains and refuse to do it. And I was one of those kids. So once I realized this, I was like, hold on, what now what? If this isn't my purpose, then what is? So I really wasn't like on any journey. It really felt like I was being pushed and shoved down this very busy path that everyone is seemingly funneled into, which only ever ends in college, debt, maybe you'll get married, midlife crisis will come after that, and then you'll probably get divorced, and before you know it, you're complaining on X about how bad society is, right? So, boom, now you're a victim. There's absolutely no flow in your life, no positive reinforcement from accomplishing things that gives you purpose, like on a daily basis. And that's a form of modern slavery. I feel like it's honestly people being led like sheep to a slaughter, doing what was expected of them, and their whole life was laid out until one day they realize, oh, this isn't actually what I wanted to do when I was a little kid. And I could see what I liked and what I wanted to do and what I was interested in. That all was washed out by the expectations of society, and yeah. So this video is about music, believe it or not. Just hang in there. I'm almost to that. And I promise it's going to change the way you think about everything, really. So when I was in middle school, I started selling candy. I've sold this story before, and I say it to every person I meet. But this is what gave me a purpose in life. Like, I wanted to do that for the rest of my life. I didn't care. That journey was the one I wanted to go forever. And it gave me flow on a daily basis. People think about flow as like a state that you're in for a short period of time. I think you can actually scope it out. Like, this is your whole life. You could be, or certain seasons of your life, you could be in flow and out of flow. And it can be days, it can be weeks, it can be even years in a flow state, a graceful flow state. And this selling candy gave me that for years and years. And it gave me a positive reinforcement loop of work and reward every day, which is like a deep satisfaction. And I guess it was because I was building something that was like 100% mine and real, and I was rebelling against the system I hated so bad, which was the school system. So it was a great thing for me. But when I was on the bus going to school on, my little mission to sell as much candy as I could, I was always listening to music because I had to almost drown out everything else to focus on, okay, I need to sell candy. This is bigger than me. I felt it when I was like 14. I didn't know why. I was like, why is this so important? But it felt like it was. It's like, I got to focus on this. I need to do this diligently. And what happened is I listened to this rap music, funny enough, and this helped me stay in the flow state, the hustle, the heroic hustle. Like, rap was a fascination of mine because it was, for a lack of a better way to describe it, it felt like a continuous, like, devil on my shoulder, forming me in my malleable mind into the greatest candy seller there ever was. I was like hustling harder than anyone has ever hustled in anything at my age because I was on a mission. I was in flow, and everybody better get out of my way because I'm not stopping. Like, I was like, please expel me from school for selling candy. I'll just go to another school and do it again. Like, I was that dedicated. And this can go too far off course with flow, music in particular. You gotta, you can start trying to drown out the rest of the world. Like, and I fall victim to this. Like, I'm trying to drown out people that are trying to talk to me. It's like, no, that's not the point. When it's silent and you want to get into the flow, when you're working or when you're on mission, this is when it helps. The point at the end of the video was supposed to, let me just give you a little spoiler. The main point is to experience this during work, when you're on mission, and then when you're not, go into the silence. Feel the flow in the silence. That's the magic in doing this practice of listening to music for the sake of flow and flowing into whatever positive mood you want to be in. So, and rap's a little bit harder. There's better music for this, which we'll get into, but at the time, like, I was listening to like the rags to riches rappers. I wasn't listening to the F this, F that rappers. That's a bad aspect that you can go far off course into, and you become those aspects of the music. But the music I listened to was like the inspiring rap, and the geniuses that were able to really escape the rat race and continuously put lightning into a bottle on multiple albums, and those albums still inspire me to this day. This is a form of flow that's, a beat is a beat. And if you listen to lyrics, it's like riding the beats, and you can gain knowledge and insight into what it really means to make it. And for me, that's what I was experiencing. I was like, this is raw. This is real. This is a world that I don't yet understand because I'm so young. But I feel this hustle, this heroic hustle, whatever that is. I was feeling it. And I listen to this music pretty much every day on the bus and after school, and I was just focused. And if I wasn't, and I wanted to, the weird thing is that when I was 14, I knew I was tapping into something really important, and I was focused. And everyone else was just in a la land, and they didn't know why they were where they were. It was like a weird thing. It's like waking up in a dream and realizing all of you people are in a dream right now in my mind. So I'm just going to fly around like Superman. And that's a great way to put it. Tap myself on the shoulder for that one. But yeah, so what's interesting about it is, like, I learned from these rappers, these rap mentors of mine, when I didn't have any other mentors, where they helped me understand like what hard work meant, and why rebelling against normalcy can and should become your ultimate truth. Now, my go-tos when I was finding my purpose was Logic's debut album, Under Pressure. This record encapsulated the gritty grind of a rags to riches story with an overbearing confidence it was like it's all meant to be. That's what it felt like through his lyrics. I mean, and another great artist was Big Sean. He had a record called I Decided, and this is the first time I've gotten to like hypnotic rap of like these flows that are like on top of like cloudy beats. It felt like you were slowly sliding through a water park slide of greatness. It's the only way I can describe it. And like the cover art is like whatever those, the northern lights in the background. It's the vibe is exquisite. Now, the song "All Right" by Logic and Big Sean is like the perfect combo if you want to listen to both of them at the same time. And they're like peanut butter and jelly on that track. It's crazy. But what's cool is like I also got into the old school stuff, which turned me like pretty wise beyond my years, I'd say. Like my favorite was Wu-Tang, and mainly GZA on Liquid Swords. First, because the cover art is the most badass cover art for any rap album ever made, and also because GZA really is a genius, and every rap was like, whoa. I feel like I was in the Bronx, just like slinging drugs, but it was candy in my middle school to my friends. And it's like the best inspiration for like when times got tough too, because that happens too. It's like, dang, I didn't sell any candy this week. Like, what am I gonna do? I gotta stay on mission. I just like, and I'm also trying to be a kid too. Just like getting sad about dumb stuff. And I because I'm starting to get more emotional and more, older I get. I need cope. And what helped me for that to stay in the flow of like my mission, like to stay focused, was Kid Cudi's Man on the Moon series. My God, it just kept getting better. Every song I'd be like, this is it. Mr. Rager by Kid Cudi is the perfect encapsulation of like my entire childhood. Like, I wrote a book when I was 17 called Sweet Money about selling candy, and I started it by saying to all the kids like me, because Kid Cudi said in a interview that like changed my whole life and like rocked my world. It was like a TED talk, and he said that. It's just incredible. And one of his songs, I think. But anyways, so these tracks, like, they kept me on an unwavering flow state of passionate improvement and execution of my candy selling empire. And it's like to make it something bigger than myself. And again, I didn't understand why or how this was bigger than myself, but it felt like it was. And what happened is COVID stopped it completely. I was like a junior, I believe, in high school, and I realized that I was going to be spending a lot of time at home. And I was like, okay, understood. 10-4, time to bunker down. And I did just that. And what happened is as for many people, I'm sure, I'd wake up and turn on the teacher's talking on one side of the screen, and I'd have another window open on my other monitor. I mute the teacher, and honestly, I slept through half of those fucking classes. But, excuse my French, but it was completely a waste of time. It was even worse than being in school. I was like, this is a complete, total and utter waste of time. But when I was there, I was at my workstation, my computer, in my room with the LED lights that were probably bad for my health and my eyesight and everything, for my mental health. It was, that's where I was. I was literally in a closet. My computer was in a closet, and I didn't have a purpose anymore, but it was fine. It was weird. It was like, because I wasn't selling candy, but I was like, oh man, well, this path didn't end. I actually chose to stop. I guess I could have kept going, but I probably was smart enough to find a way around it during COVID. But I was like, no, I think I'm done. Now what? I don't feel much pressure to keep this going. I feel like it's just gonna naturally happen. So and it did. I was already trained my mind to be in this flow that I actually easily transitioned into, okay, let me try to sell a house. Literally, I tried to become a realtor after selling candy. I was like, okay, if I can sell a candy bar, I can sell a house. And I did. And I was 17. Well, in 17, I believed I could. And I studied for my real estate exam while my teachers were yapping on the computer. And I was like, okay, I need to grow as a person, and because who am I? No one's gonna buy a house for me. I need to get smarter, and I had all this money, so I was learning how to trade stuff in the stock market, and I was just doing things. I was trying to keep it going, and it wasn't really healthy, I guess, when you're sitting cooped up, and but it helped me grow as a person, and I believe that time ended up shaping me into exactly who I needed to become, to have a place in this world around people I actually wanted to be around later in life. I just needed to focus and dial in for years and years and years. And these time slips started to add up, and before I knew it, I was 18 years old, turning into an adult, and I felt as if I was a 40-year-old man with wise knowledge that I've obtained from studying, continuing to listen to this music, and whenever I found passionate in, I just followed it. I didn't care. I was like, I want to just do whatever interests me. And I understood myself better, my psychology, and I even found religion. And what I learned through that is like you can channel flow into something positive, something greater than yourself, and ultimately something that's selfless, that involves other people. Like, that's the ultimate goal. But there's lonely periods and lonely chapters in your life, and this was one of them, and I just kept on mission and made it out. I don't know if a lot of people did, though. People were really messed up from COVID, and yeah, but I made it out through this kind of, it was like a light at this torch, leading me out of a pitch black cave, which still and always will be there. I just that torch for me is business. It was official. I think I realized I was a natural born entrepreneur, and I was going to change the world with my products and services one way or another, and so be it. That's who I am. So this entire time I didn't understand flow, which was interesting because I was actually putting it into practice. Like when I was 18, I went to the gym pretty much every single day for the entire year. Like, literally, I was like amazed that I did that. But I got in a flow of it. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been going to this place for like 8 months. Maybe I'll just go for a whole year. And it's because my mind started adapting to like this rewiring that occurred. And I read in this book, it was either the 5 a.m. Club or something similar. Actually, the 5 a.m. Club. I read that it takes 22 days for a new habit to rewire your brain. And it takes 62 days for that new habit to automatize. Very interesting word. Which is a cool word. And what happens when you automatize, after 62 days of doing a habit, it actually requires no more willpower to do that thing. So, like, for example, this is getting a little weird, but it's, a lot of people deal with like pornography and masturbation and all these things. And literally the only ways to stop it, and it's like the hardest thing any man is trying to get over nowadays, the only thing that'll stop it is you become a person that doesn't do it. And that requires rewiring of your whole brain. And with something as potent as that, if you do it long enough, you're wiring your brain to that dopamine cycle. And it's just, we know this, but it's like, it really is true. Like, no one wants to sacrifice 62 days of their life to stop a habit like that. And it doesn't require willpower to stop. You're just like, I'm not that person anymore. I don't do that. And you're going to slip up, but it doesn't matter. You can do it one time and be like, well, that's not really who I am. I really don't like that stuff. So I'm just not who I am. I don't do it anymore. I'm not that type of person. And that's the only way to get around it and get through it. And religion helps people do that as well. It's, it changes you as a whole person. That's what you have to do. For hard, difficult habits like that, you have to break and build new ones and replace them with new ones. And it's not magic. It's science. Our brains are plastic, and they will rewire. It'll rewire itself based on what you do, experience, think, and feel. This is called neuroplasticity. And going even further, like, our brains can even birth new cells, create new cells, like, from nothing. It's what's called neurogenesis, and it occurs in the hippocampus. I'm not saying I know exactly what I'm talking about, but that's exactly what it's called, and that's exactly what it does. It makes new cells, and it's because your brain is outside of its comfort zone, and you encounter like novelty, like new environments, skills, and ideas. Your brain responds to these new pathways by creating, like pathways in your brain to adapt to it. Like, if the challenge is sustained or repeated, it may also stimulate neurogenesis, especially in the hippocampus. So it happens. People are understanding this. These scientists are looking at the brain. They're like, wow, this is a guy on porn. This is a dude who's an MMA fighter. And there's a little bit of a difference there. And, for example. But, like, learning a new skill, like public speaking, networking, like when you're really shy, starting a new job, moving into a new city, even like cold exposure, like ice baths or intense workouts, like that is exactly what will rewire your brain. You're facing fears, even in therapy and like through journaling and meditation, like that is flow, and that is going to get you into a new brain. Like, your brain is just going to change, and you start tackling these hard problems, like this mental discomfort. And the reality is, like, most people live in like a dead zombie state, like lacking of creativity. They got this discomfort that's just looming over them, and their brain conforms to this lifestyle. Like, it's actually called dopamine desensitization, which is the constant flood of cheap dopamine from scrolling, for example, which makes, real life rewards like finishing a project, exercising, or socializing, it makes it feel boring or too hard. The brain's reward system gets numb. It reduces, your motivation for anything meaningful. And it actually weakens your like executive function in your brain. Like your brain just doesn't work right, and like you can't even like focus. Like in the prefrontal cortex, like the areas like that are actually affected. Like if you look into this and you study this, it's like incredible. It's like you're actually not able to focus, plan, and your discipline is not there. It gets like erased if it's underused. And like multitasking and like passive content consumption trains the brain for like short-term spans of instant gratification, right? It's we all know this, but do we really know it, right? Like, do we study it? Do we really try to figure it out? Because if you do, then you're rebelling against the world, right? You're figuring out why is this happening to people instead of just living in it and being one of the zombies. And it's incredible when you actually look into it, and it opens your mind and makes you not want to do it. So, like the long-term effects, if you want to get kind of dark here, of not having any motivation and drive, is like there's low energy, chronic mental fog, feeling numb to goals and purpose, difficulty starting or completing tasks, reliance on passive stimulation to feel okay. Anxiety and depression can like creep in from all sides from this cycle. And to break it, there's actually good news, right? Because your brain's neuroplastic, like you can actually reverse this by cutting back on these dopamine sources that are passive, and then getting uncomfortable on purpose, learning, exercise, social stuff. And by replacing scrolling with curiosity, exploration, or even boredom, your brain starts rewiring itself back to motivation, focus, and purpose. Like, here's a quote, right? Any solid achievement must of necessity take years of humble apprenticeship and estrangement from most of society. As a two-banger here, heroism doesn't happen in seasons. You need to stick with it. By answering the heroic call to do what you were born to do, you have to be estranged from society a little bit. You have to take this action that is really radical, it seems, but it's necessary in this crazy world. And the best and easiest way to do this rewiring of your brain is just do challenging things in flow. That's the key. Like, you can do the most uncomfortable things in a flow state because you're not really able to, like, you don't even really feel the pain because you're just surfing on top of it effortlessly. So, like, the best way I can describe this is actually, I won't even try. There's a world champion UFC fighter called Yuri Prochaska. I say his name wrong. I probably still said it wrong. But Yuri Prochaska is an inspiration for me. I think he understands flow better than anyone else in martial arts, except for like the Japanese. They really understand it well through karate, and yeah, it's incredible. And jiu-jitsu, and they all understand it on some level, but he lives and breathes flow, this Yuri Prochaska. And like for the young and ambitious like me, like I find myself like constantly being in this like emotional state that's like a passionate state of trying to be great. And Yuri explained like this is a flow stream of consciousness that you need to engage in every day, and it needs to be through challenging stuff that is leading you towards your greater mission. And you'll not only get there, but you'll surpass your greatest expectations and go like far beyond like what your body is even capable of. And I've come to the realization that like if I channel this flow into something real, I can actually conquer anything that I focus on. Like this ambition, like if I channel it through flow, I can go places. Because the ambition and the drive, it's only going to get you so far. So if you really want to change the world, you got to understand this. And the flow kind of tames me in a way. It's like keeping me looking at the world stoically. And stoicism and flow go hand in hand together. It's peanut butter and jelly. And in a world always trying to get a reaction out of you, like the most rebellious thing you could do is just stare at them and smile at the chaos that's in front of you. And this tends to put up a mirror, and actually that person forces themselves to like look at themselves and like back within themselves. When you stop like letting them dictate your emotional state, they realize, oh, I'm kind of being ridiculous. And Marcus Aurelius knows this, but on if you read Meditations, it's like the best to understand presence, flow, and to be the most powerful person in the entire world at the time, to understand these things and not give in to simple pleasures because you can have anything you want. It's incredible. And that's the only way is through Stoicism. And this is the only way I've found myself to actually be able to practice it and not be in this constantly irritated, uneasy state, especially when I'm running a business. And so many things happen throughout the day that screw me up. It's good to be stoic. And what's cool is like, okay, so there's examples like David Goggins. He's a master, constantly tapping into a flow state, channeling this like endless dark energy that he has inside of him as internal motivation. And it comes out as just sheer willpower in action. And it's the most amazing thing because he doesn't use music at all. He's just able to focus because he's been in the lab like every day. That's what he says. He's always in the lab constantly like trying to surpass the limits of his willpower. And a hypnotic flow will actually assist your willpower when you're doing something extremely challenging like he does. And it gets you in this like the zone to get it done. It's almost like you're getting stabbed and you don't even feel it because you're the adrenaline. It's like that. You don't even feel it. You're just doing the thing. You're just I'm in a fight. That's why I want to get into martial arts, because I think that if you understand flow, you just keep going. You will beat everybody. You'll be the world champion. I don't want to be the world champion in UFC, but in martial arts. But I want to understand myself more. And I have other mountains to conquer, and this will help me do that. But enough about me. I think that from what I'm learning by really diving into flow and what it really means is that like the only way to really achieve it. Okay, well, first let me say this. Everyone seems to think the way they can achieve flow is by shutting their mind off, by drinking alcohol, doing drugs. And my point is that this is a far better alternative that actually achieves the same effect. Like I get high off of the dopamine from that hits me constantly from a continuous loop of work and reward from just 2 sessions of like deep work every day. Like 4 hours is a deep work session. If I do 2 of those a day in deep flow, like I just flew through the sucky, uncomfortable parts of the day, and it's giving me more time to be present and enjoy the rest of my day instead of like working all the time trying to catch up. And like you can apply this flow to most things, even socially. Like you can flow through a conversation with such grace and confidence that it's like you're a rapper endlessly freestyling, and witty word combos are just flying out of your mouth. I mean, for example, like when I go driving around to procure like consignment inventory for my business, sometimes I'm turned down like several times. I'm talking to companies in my state, and sometimes it'll go for hours straight. No one wants to talk to me. I'm like, what's going on? I almost give up every time, and I'm like, no, every time if I make it through this hurdle, every time I know things are going to change. And I never understood why, but it's because I'm getting tired. My walls are down and I'm entering flow. I'm like relaxed, and my attitude is like the furthest from needing something from someone because I'm just like fed up with it. So like you certainly are not the first person I've talked to today, and every time without fail I end up closing deals. I mean deals. I've closed $1 million deals just through this like flow, through conversation and just doing it for hours throughout the day until something really hits. And you're able to just have a conversation and build relationships the right way. Everybody has sales wrong. You just need to build a relationship, genuinely trying to know someone and help them. And that's a good way to do it, is just through flow and just absolute confidence in yourself. And there really is kind of a cheat code to all of this, of getting into the flow state when it's work and you're not just like in your life you need to be present in the silence of life and sitting outside and feeling the breeze on a warm summer night and listening to this cricket and thinking maybe this cricket, the whole purpose in this cricket's life is probably to just make noise for me right now and sing his little cricket song to me right now, and that's his only purpose in life. And you start thinking about stuff like this, you're just fully present like a little kid building a Lego set with his graham crackers. And my main point is, hopefully through what I'm about to say, in like practical terms, how you actually enter the flow. I hope you do this when you're actually working, when you're on mission, doing what you think you need to do, and you're not drowning other people out, and you're just doing this at work. Really, it's work. It's working out. It's also, when you need to get in the zone, it's helping you get into the flow of it. That'll last the rest of your day, and it'll help you not be agitated all day, and you can actually. And again, I don't know everything. I'm practicing this. I'm actually going to Japan to learn more about this and really dive into it. I struggle with it every day. I always try to get into the flow state, but I feel like it's just so important that I'm trying to really understand it. And what's really interesting, and I'll get into the practical way to do this is actually through music. And that being said, don't listen to music all day, every day when you're with your friends. Again, I have to make that point very, very clear. But when you're at work, like, you can actually listen to this type of music that helps you like control when you enter and leave the flow. Like oh boy. Okay, so sound engineers and creative geniuses that make music have caught on to this phenomenon, and there's actually entire genres crafted for this exact purpose, to channel the human consciousness in like a stream of flow. That's like water rushing down a stream. And like because in flow in essence is just being in the present, in the here and now. Like, a lot of this music uses birds and like soundscapes that are like direct MP4s of nature, or like a peaceful setting, often floating on top of like a rhythmic beat. And these sound engineers are using tools like, because I make music too, and there's tools like Omnisphere by Spectrasonics, where you can actually create arpeggios from like a arpeggiator like tool, where you're using only they're hand picking like the crispiest synth patches that they can find and just fluttering them through a song, and not having it be too busy, but just letting your mind be able to flow with the music. And it does an incredible job at creating like a time slip and it's like within seconds of listening to this music, it starts to tickle your brain into like a deep flow state, and you actually singularly begin focusing on the task that's in front of you. If you maintain it, you don't just have any disruptions and that stops you. But it can actually take about like 15 minutes to get into the like fully immersed into the flow, which is about like 3 songs. And it can go on for like 4 hours if it's not interrupted. Now, this actually works if you are also trying to solve like a difficult problem in your mind. Like, the reason why we're able to work things out in our brain, and our brain's able to like not overload every day, is because we go to sleep and our brain shuts off, and it's actually more active than ever. But it's in like this creative space where you're having a dream, you're in this la dream world where your brain's actually able to repair itself. And I think if you tap into that by sitting in like a dark room with a pen and pad where you can write stuff down that comes to your mind, You're actually listening to this music, kind of drifting into sleep and out of sleep, and you're actually letting your mind wander, and like Joseph the dreamer in the Bible. Like you're actually just waiting for things to come to you, and then you write it down. Like people get paid millions of dollars to be the idea guy for like major corporations, and they're doing this exact same thing. They go into a soundproof room and it's dark and they have pen and paper and they listen to music like this, and it's really tapping into like your subconscious, because half the time you are nodding off, and you're going in and out of consciousness, and it's wild. So I actually have a playlist for this exact purpose, and I call it Dreamscapes for Visionaries, because it really feels like I'm tapping into like my infinite creative power that is always there. It's just you have to just tap into it. And the key for this type of focus is to have incredibly non-evasive soundscapes. So like ambient at its core, like the less layers and noise the better. Like this simple type of ambient music is a weird experience at first when you listen to it. Like it's perhaps even like super boring, but it is supposed to be so your mind has the room to explore your thoughts. It's very meditative. Like it's great. A good example of this, probably the best example of this, is number 13, the song from Aphex Twin, which is a wildly good song. On Selected Ambient Works Volume 2, or Saw 2 is what some people call it. And some of these songs are honestly super creepy, but I really like number 3, number 13, and number 17 on that album. It's like greatness. And it's hard to tell if it's true or not, but Aphex Twin, or Richard, who's kind of a eccentric guy, he likes to play with media and like toy with them, but he actually said that this song was inspired, or these songs on this album was inspired by music that he heard in dreams, or like in a semi-dream state. Like instead of writing traditional tracks, he's tried to recreate those dream sounds like once he was awake. And it makes sense. I mean, it sounds like this formless, ethereal, like outer worldly soundscape that's like alien. And it's less about like rhythmic beats, but atmosphere, which is like great for creativity. Now, rhythmic beats are for flow. Like if you want to just time slip, like that is where you want to be listening. That's what you want to listen to. Not really the ambient stuff, in my experience. But if you do fall asleep to this music, this is a wild thing. Sorry, I nerd out about stuff like this, so I'm gonna keep going. But and I hope you're enjoying this video so far. If you're still listening, then you're about to get some gems here. Let me tell you. So, because the atmosphere, especially in these songs, is so like lethargic, you actually start falling asleep. And if you do, like, you might get jolted back into consciousness, especially if you're like on shuffle and you end up on another song and you wake up instantly. Well, your brain actually, believe it or not, has a blast of ideas that it's pulling from the unconscious when you are re-entering conscious thought. Like you are literally tapping into the power of the unconscious mind, or the subconscious mind, and bringing it into reality. And this sounds like nonsense, but I'm just simply pointing out an idea to like broaden your scope of what's possible, an understanding of like, whoa, there's some cool stuff you can do with your brain if you actually take control of it. And there's actually a good video about this from I Am Lucid, who dives into this concept, which was actually the video is on how Thomas Edison, who was like purposely trying to tap into exactly what I just said. So he'd actually hold a metal ball in his hand while he was sitting down in a rocking chair, and his arm would be laid out to the side, like almost towards the ground. And as he's like rocking back and forth, falling asleep into a nap, he would think about whatever problem he was trying to solve until he started entering like the first stages of REM sleep. and he started drifting off to sleep, and he's losing his senses in his hand, and it starts loosening ever so slightly, and the ball slips out of his hand. The metal ball, and it hits the ground, jolting him awake instantly. And like in that second, apparently the burst of ideas were so valuable to Thomas Edison that he wrote them down and even implemented some of them in his most famous inventions. I'll link all these videos in the description and these playlists and everything. But if you really think about it, like when does your brain ever actually shut off? Like when all the worries of the world go away, and you're like fully focused on one thing. Well, like while you're sleeping, right? That's an obvious one. And then like when you're fully engaged and like you ever watch someone doing a speech, and they're giving a really good speech, and you're just locked in. And even just any other form of entertainment where you're just in the zone, and like even like physical exercise, meditation, sitting outside, experiencing that cricket, and sex, and also, like I mentioned, drugs and alcohol, obviously, right? These are the only times your brain is completely shut off from the outside world and you're in the present. And there are certain types of people who've tapped into this on a daily basis, but those are monks, and those are people that are masters of flow. Like there was a trend last year of people actually doing, I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago, but it was the trend called monk mode, and people would do this where they'd do something like, I watched this one Russian dude that came to the United States, and he's like, I'm going to do ice bath every day for the whole year. And I was like, whoa, like, okay. Like I watched him every day. He was in there. And like it was cool seeing him like enter this flow state that was like making the uncomfortable comfortable. Or, going even further, like Yuri says, like there is no such thing as uncomfortable and comfortable. There is only the here and now. And he actually started trying to start a business and all these things. His life was improving, and it's because he was in the flow of just constant improvement. And like the best teachers of this practice of being present is Eckhart Tolle in the world famous book The Power of Now. I'm sure you've read it or you know about it. Someone you know has definitely read it. And Eckhart believes like heaven is in the mind, and you can enter at any moment. And it makes you think. It's like, is our minds really that powerful? And I think it is. I really do. Now, before I show you the best music for flow that I listen to every single day, there's actually one more concept I need to explain quickly. So, the reason why there are like these like Steve Jobs and Elon Musks in the world is because these individuals understand the incredibly important principle of like a ratio of noise to flow during the day. Now, most people's days look like 80% like complete noise, and a majority of their day, their attention is constantly being pulled in every which way. I'm sure you've experienced this before, where you're just scrolling on like TikTok and you're responding to a text and you're procrastinating. And during the 20% of the flow that you actually are able to squeeze in at work, it is constantly being interrupted every 15 minutes by like a Slack message or like a helicopter manager over your shoulder. And the reality is that it actually takes about 15 minutes, funny enough, to get to actually refocus. So only 3 or 4 of those interruptions completely wastes 3 or hours of your day working. And there's no wonder people struggle to achieve anything anymore. And the quality of flow is so bad that some people can experience 100% noise and just chaos all day, every day because of the iPhone. And what's crazy about it is like to rebel against this reality, you have to try and get as much flow in during the day as possible, right? So like Steve Jobs understood this, and he understood that his time was incredibly valuable. And he actually got his noise to flow ratio down to about 80 to 20%. And kind of like Elon, like when he isn't tweeting, he's in a flow state. And Steve Jobs, he was like notorious for being like a fast driver, and he'd park in the handicapped parking spot, and then he'd bark at his employees on his way in before getting to his office and just tapping into his mind, which is his form of work, which is just inventing the greatest creation that honestly will paradoxically go on to completely ruin our attention spans and any chance of finding flow during the day. Like, Steve Jobs wouldn't even let his kids use iPhones because he knew how damaging it was. Which makes sense, because to become the biggest company in the world, capturing the most attention out of humans, you have to understand human psychology on a deep level. And this is what's causing the downfall of man, I believe, is the iPhone. Just turn it around and you'll see what I'm talking about. But that's all I'm going to say about that. But back to my point. Like, you can radically rebel against normalcy by going above and beyond to protect your peace. These people who understand the power of flow, they make it look like hard work or genius, when in reality it is just them channeling their creativity and passion into like a diligent output that is surprisingly effortless without distraction. Like, for example, for me, like, I don't have any apps on my phone. They're there, but they're hidden. I don't have any of the main ones at all. Outside of, phone, text, camera, map, AI, which is ChatGPT, and maybe a few others, but that's about it. And I the reason why I was able to do this is I bought an app called Dumbify. Obviously no ties to this company whatsoever, but they made this app where you can actually remove all of the other apps by just showing a clickable text that goes to a handful of apps that I need just to live, right? So I pretty much have like a brick in my pocket, which for example, I'll show a picture of it, and it's you end up being in like you can even go further, right? You can be in a 24/7 state of just like calm by customizing like a do not disturb mode, and I named mine protecting my peace. And only calls can make it through. No texts. I can look at text whenever I feel like it. I tell people, don't text me. I'll never respond until I'm done with everything I need to do during the day. So call me instead. And there's a pro tip. If you ever want to turn the notification in iMessage where everyone can see that you're on Do Not Disturb, you can actually do that in settings. You can become a ghost. And trust me, it's the best thing you will ever do, ever. Now, I actually have an MP3 one on there. You can see that's for Spotify. I always say Shopify, no, Spotify. And it's by far the most important app on my phone, because that's how I tap in to the flow when I need it. And I've actually done all the hard work of finding the best flow music, and that's why I call it flow music. Nobody on YouTube talks about this. I'm making up terms here, but it's true. I keep finding more every day. Like, I try to listen to one album at least every day, and I have been for years, and I've been waiting for years to actually share this on YouTube. So I've structured it into two playlists. One is called Time to Focus, and the other is Going Deep. Now, as you can guess, like, Time to Focus is like, okay, we're focusing. But if you want to really, really lock in, let's say you really got to do something and you need to lock in, the Going Deep playlist goes deep. And I'll pull it up here actually while I'm talking. As I'm recording this, my Time to Focus playlist has over 1,000 songs. It's 85 hours long. And my description for it is conquering the world one hypnotic beat at a time, because it really feels like what it is. And the Going Deep playlist is 83 songs. It's only 8 hours. Out of that whole 1,000 songs, I picked under 100. And the way I pick these songs for the Time to Focus playlist is it's a collection of pretty much every song that hits the spot. If it hits the spot, I'm adding it. And I felt myself going back to multiple songs when I'm listening to new albums because I'm like 15 minutes gone past it. I'm like, whoa, what was that one song though? Because I get so, I just lose track of time when I'm listening to music like this. So it takes a lot of effort to me to go back and add it and then get back into. I've been sacrificed a lot of flow for this playlist, and I've refined it down to, like, since version 1, it's actually called Time to Focus version 2, because version 1 was just as long, but I've refined it and refined the genres, and I moved away from like lo-fi hip hop type tracks to like the good stuff. And you can be my guest and shuffle this playlist. You know, have a trip through Flow City, man. It runs the gambit. It's really cool. I'm sure you'll find some gems in there, if not like every song, because if you like this type of music, every one of those songs hits the spot. And music's subjective, but it's really tapping into what I've experienced is flow. So now my second playlist, which is Going Deep, really takes everything that, like, the best of the best from everything I've ever listened to. And I've discovered these by searching rateyourmusic.com, and I just filter the leaderboards of like genre, like what's the most highly rated album in these specific genres that I'll get into, and I'm able to find the best of the best of the best of the best. And the following genres, these genres really are like the entire purpose of these genres is to entrance you into a hypnotic flow. And we'll start with the absolute best and my personal favorite. It's called Psybient. And the genre utilizes Psytrance, which is like another genre, but it utilizes Psytrance's hypnotic, surreal, and progressive atmosphere in the context of ambient music, but it's also like pairing it with laid back grooves of like down tempo and these beats, and it is as the name suggests, it's like a psychedelic ambient experience every time. And the most notorious examples of Psybient music is from carbon-based life forms, solar fields, HUVA network, Huva network, and my personal favorite, which is Simon Posford, aka Spongel. And by far, like, the greatest flow album of all time is actually relatively unknown because it is the work of Simon Posford during the COVID lockdowns, and it was released secretly under his name, like his actual government name, and not the more vastly and popular known alias of Spongel. Like Spongel's the music type of music you go to like a rave to listen to, and I'm not really into that, but I'm more into, he's a genius when it comes to this type of music, so he makes this Psybient music every once in a while. And this album that he made during COVID, when he was just locked in his studio, it's called Flux and Contemplation. And I'd like to point out that the actual definition of flux is the action or process of flowing or flowing out. So we're flowing, and really this album, it changed my life. I'm not exaggerating or being hyperbolic at all. It made me want to get into making music, and it's by far the best way to start your journey into the wonderful world of flow music. This is truly the holy grail. Nothing's better. Nothing beats it. If you can find something that beats it, I will disagree politely. Or not politely, not so politely. I'll be like, no, you're wrong. Because it's so good. But anyways, it doesn't mean that there's not close contenders. And like there's so many. But the best and my absolute favorites are World of Sleepers by Carbon-Based Lifeforms, which will almost certainly put you to sleep. The song Gurning, I think that's how you say that word. It is the perfect. I bet if you look up the definition of gurning, let's look it up. I guarantee this is a flow vocabulary word. Dawn or daybreak. Okay. The beginning of something. But it's the perfect example of like just super lethargic flow music that's in the Sybient space, and it'll literally slow your heart rate down to like 30. And it's amazing. But anyways, another great album is Leaving Home by Solar Fields. It's literally an unskippable album. I mean, the other one is too, but this one's like just banger after banger after banger. And there's nothing like it, really. It just gets better and better the more you listen to it. Now, there's also the incredibly talented, I'm going to butcher this name, Nala Sinefro, I believe. And she manages to become arguably the greatest of all time in the space ambient genre, which is another genre that I like a lot. And I really have a hard time disagreeing with people. Now, the only thing that comes close, which, by the way, the best album of hers is Space 1.8. Right? All of them. The Space albums are so good. And that's really the only albums she has ever dropped. They're all good. Everything. It's actually so good, and it involves jazz. It's so good that I'm like amazed when I listen to it. And every song flows into each other better than anything else I've ever heard. Definitely give it a listen. But the only thing that really comes close to that is Elon Musk's favorite artist, because he understands this. He's tapped into this flow music before, and he's mentioned it, and it's from this artist called Stellar Drone. I believe they, don't quote me on this, but I believe they made Star Citizen music, or sure freaking sounds like it. And you're going to see some footage of that, some gameplay of that in the background, because that's flow. That game is flow. And I finally got a graphics card to run it, so you're getting some footage of it. But Elon specifically mentions the Light Years album on X, which is hands down a masterpiece. I think everyone should dive into that, because you enter space. It's just pure bliss. Actually, pure curiosity bliss. I mean, you're just exploring space, it seems like. It's awesome. And most of this music, it lacks any lyrics, and it just heavily relies on atmosphere. But there's beats too that are rhythmic, and it's like the perfect combo. And the best example of this is probably Boards of Canada, where their ability, and I'm sure you've heard of them before, but some of their old stuff, it's able to paint a landscape that's uncanny. You feel like you're lost in a vague dream that you had when you were a kid. The album called The Campfire Head Phase. Oh, it's creepy how uncanny it is, but I love it. It's the best kind of creepy. And there's some obscure artists that I thought I'd drop in here that I've discovered through just digging for gold. And the one that I had to mention, which is, he's a weird dude, but I love him. His name's Funky Porcini, and his music can be perfectly encapsulated without any words by this album cover of his best flow record, which is called Fast Asleep. I mean, look at that. Just surrounded by audio equipment. We're tapping in. We know sound, okay? Actually, this is I'm looking at it right now. This is the first time I've noticed there's letters in the audio equipment. That's so trippy. Anyways, so him and Nala, their ability to infuse jazz in the flow music, it's beyond me. I think it's genius. But there's many other underground artists. I'll just name a few more. The main ones that I love are from Japan, and they not only make the highest quality flow music, but they're using philosophy of Kaizen in the way they do it. Their every album is better than the last one. They're constantly improving. Whether they're a sound engineer or just an artist in their bedroom, it just gets better and better. And I'm actually going to Japan for all of December to dive into the culture and like experience it for myself and learn Kaizen. I'm gonna go to like the temples and just trying to tap into the magic. Now, okay. The best album is by far the best Japanese one. I think. Well, okay, there's two. I can't give the gold medal to one of them. There's this album called A Trout in the Milk. Apparently it's a soundtrack to a movie. I don't know what movie it's from. I should probably watch it. No idea what that's from. But Daisuke, Tanabe, and Yosi Horikawa. They are amazing. Daisuke is actually just an artist, and Yosi Horikawa is actually a sound engineer, and they are friends, and Yosi mixes Daisuke's stuff, and them together on this album is amazing. And I think you should check out everything they've made. They made really kind of popular albums, actually. Some of them, they've popped off because they're just so good. People just found them. But this was super unknown. No one listens to this album. A Trout in the Milk. No one's heard this. It's amazing. Listen to it. And now the power of these engineers, these Japanese sound engineers. Oh my God. Listen to the song. The only time this is the song to listen to. If you listen to any song from this video, right after you watch this video, look up the song Fluid by Yosi Horikawa. I promise it'll blow your mind. He uses water and like a simple guitar to to create like the most heavenly song I've ever heard in my entire life. I'd give anything to be able to hear it again for the first time, but it just never gets old. It's like I'm hearing it the first time every time. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, that album's called Spaces. It's incredible. It's sound design. He's like, the way he actually made it was he's like, there's videos of him like rafting in the jungle and like just getting any MP3 audio clip that he can get to use as samples. And I just love listening to this music when I'm processing or listing inventory in my business, or when I'm trying to like learn a difficult skill. But honestly, anything and everything that is uncomfortable it's just made comfortable with this music, and it comes into your presence, and it's just for 4 hours. I am simply doing the task. I'm learning a new thing, or I'm creating something. And after those 4 hours, your brain starts losing focus. That's fine. You ease out of it. And the key is to just have absolutely no distractions during those 4 hours, or else every time you break the flow, it's going to, again, take 15 minutes to get back in. You're going to be able to do the work of several people. And this is commonly called deep work blocks, which is like 2 or 3 deep work sessions during the day. And if you really are interested in this, I would highly recommend you watch Lex Friedman's Day in the Life video on YouTube. It explains this very well. And that man, I think the top comment I last saw was, "I'm gonna drink a beer because you've accomplished enough for me today. Or enough for 5 men today. I'm gonna drink a beer for you. After a hard day's work." But it's true. Like the amount of stuff he was able to do is incredible in one day. And I've used these deep works blocks too. It's incredible. There's a book on this by Cal I forgot his name, but great book. And it's super cool. So these discoveries, they've helped me be more present and enjoy life in a richer way. I feel like I've learned more about myself, and by tapping into my mind, I understand that like those voices in my head, like these demons, they don't really exist. Demons exist, but they're not in my head anymore. I'm just really here in the now, and nothing else really matters. And it's the best gift I can give my audience is peace, and this is the best way I can do that. But I want to reemphasize, when you're not working or on your mission or exercising, be out there, talk to people. Don't listen to this music all day. I've fallen into that trap. You become ostracized from society. It's not good. But yeah, it's just super powerful. It's like literally like a superpower. We're transmutating the power of flow into, like, you can bring it into martial arts. You can bring it into a business. You can bring it into anything. And like through Kaizen and in a business like mine that I'm running, I can run $1 million business by myself because everything's just flowing so well. I can do the work of 7 people. Why hire 7 people when I can just profit everything and not have any overhead from payroll? It's powerful. I work less. I worked less than when I had 4 people on payroll. It's crazy. And I know there's other people that are as passionate about this as I am. But I decided, okay, I need to make a video about this because I haven't seen it anywhere online. So I decided to take it in my own hands, and I just had to because I listen to this music for several hours a day, every day. I live and breathe this flow music, and I'm happy to share it with you to experience for yourself, to just experience flow, presence, being in the now. It's amazing. It'll change your life. Yeah, I'll definitely link all of those playlists down below, and I could keep going for hours and hours naming off albums and songs and genres. I'm looking at how long I've been filming this. Holy crap, I've been recording this forever. If you watch this, props to you. You have learned some interesting stuff, and I hope you use it. And yeah, thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it and you'd like more videos like this, please let me know. I know it's not like my normal videos. It actually turned into more of a podcast, but if you like solo podcast kind of type things like this, you listen to it in the background, some flow footage. Yeah, I think I might do it again. I don't know. It's such a big concept. I think I'm just going to keep learning about it. In Japan, maybe I'll make a video or 2. But yeah, that's all. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, peace.